right. Hello, everyone. For those of you that I haven't had an opportunity to meet yet, I'm Maureen, and I just want to welcome you all here on this cold Sunday night. Obviously, this tells us that you're pretty serious about your health struggle or your weight struggle, whatever it is, and hopefully you'll get some valuable information tonight. So, Angie and I want to tell you a little bit about what brought us to this point. And, we just want you to understand that we really do understand that weight loss or health can be a struggle for a lot of different reasons. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not trying or you're not dieting or you're not doing all the things that we've all done. But there's so many reasons that we can struggle with weight. And for me personally, I went through a really stressful time in my life about 7 years ago, and I was under just extreme stress. And I'm not talking just the ordinary stressors of life, but for those of you that don't know, my husband had a very catastrophic accident, and it left him with a traumatic brain injury and permanently disabled. And it just kind of spiraled downhill from there. So our bodies are created to deal with stress, but not for those extended periods of time. And so during that time, I ended up with my own health scare because of all the stress. I ended up in the hospital, almost had a heart attack. They discovered that it was totally due to my thyroid. So thyroid is one of the main hormones that run our entire metabolism in our body. And they just felt like it was urgent that I had it removed. So that surgery really set off just a terrible string of more severe health issues. It didn't correct the problem, it made it worse. So within a couple of months, I gained 40 pounds. I'm 4'11", so that was a lot. I ended up with 0 drugs. They were about to prescribe my 6th, which was for an antidepressant. So of course I was depressed. How are you not depressed when you gain weight like that and you're just sick and miserable and scared and you're stuck in that healthcare, what I call sick care situation. So I finally just decided that enough is enough and I needed to seek out some other options. And that's when I kind of got into the whole holistic kind of lifestyle. And Angie and I kind of reconnected. And with her being a naturopathic doctor, she kind of steered me in the direction of some things that led us to this path today. But now I know for sure that having my thyroid removed was not the answer, because I kind of knew that all along. But this past year, dealing with the stress of 2020, which we've all had stress with that, I found myself again in a situation where neither my husband or I had an income. Our business was shut down for 12 weeks. Like everyone else, was kind of overwhelmed about what's going on. This is just crazy. It just seemed insane. And again, my hormones started going crazy. So, I was at the mercy of the medical care system. And during this time, they ended up pulling the thyroid medication that I finally found that was working for me. They pulled it off the market and left me having to find something else. And every time that would happen, it would snowball on me. And here I find myself owning, weight loss centers, and my weight's creeping back on. And this happened twice during the shutdown. So all of a sudden just couldn't get my thyroid medication, and finally found something that worked for me. And they just decided that they didn't want the natural medications on the market. So, Angie and I had a little bit extra time on our hands during that shutdown. So we started talking, and I found out she was really struggling too, because she was kind of in the throes of, dealing with all this stress, and then menopause hit. So I'm going to let Angie tell you a little bit about her story, and we'll go from there.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. And yeah, Maureen's story, I mean, if you ever get a chance, you got to hear her whole story, because that's just a little piece of it. But it's pretty incredible what this woman has accomplished when her health was struggling. So I could have been a part of that. But for me, as Maureen said, hitting menopause and the stress of COVID and our business shutting down, my husband had retired, he stressed out, drinking wine because you can, because there was nothing else to do at 4 o'clock or noon on a given day. And just finding, myself going through my clothes in early June and nothing's fitting and feeling sluggish and frankly depressed. And that is something that you know me would not think of me as somebody who could possibly even get depressed, but I was there. Looking in the mirror, it was disgusting. The thought of having sex with my husband because of my body was not even in my mind. Like I was out of control. And because of that, I found myself saying, screw it. Like, who freaking cares? Like, might as well just, nothing's working. I went back to doing what had worked for me in the past, which was keto. And I found myself doing a very dirty keto version, which did not support what I was trying to do at all with my hormones and being in menopause. So I really found myself going into the fall feeling really defeated and frankly embarrassed because here, as Maureen said, owning 3 weight loss centers. And if somebody could see what I look like underneath my clothes, they'd be like, really? And it wasn't due to lack of effort, that's for sure. I was getting my food back and organizing my regimen. So I thought, and I thought I was doing everything the same as what it did 2.5 years ago. And frankly, nothing was working. And it doesn't matter, how good the food was I was eating as far as organic or non-GMO. There is a lot more to it. And it was a lot of things that we're going to talk about tonight that got me out of it and got Maureen out of it. But for menopause, for any of you who are entering this, and honestly, we see it in our practice as early as early 30s, because of the foods that are in our grocery stores. And it's about relearning how to maneuver through your life for you. Get to recognize a lot of that in this program that we're going to talk about. And for me, it was an eye opener in some cases. And I focus on nutrition. That was my study, digestive health specialist. I go to more classes and seminars than you can shake a stick at, and I couldn't figure it out. Like, how embarrassing is that? So for me, this really, something needed to work. And so what happened, I know most of you got a chance to, hopefully you all got to watch the video with Judy and Dr. Brad. Maureen and I have known them and been friends with them for years. And I reached out to them, and we're going to talk about a little bit of that relationship in a little bit. And I just said, I need to talk to you guys about what you have done in your clinic. And I need help. And so that led us to, in December, that led Maureen and I down a wild path of studying and trying to get all our ducks in a row to be here tonight to share this with you guys. You guys have been hand chosen to be involved if you choose to be, but to hear a little bit more about it so that you can maybe take the next step. So really for me, and Maureen, when we talked about this, it was about taking a step back, and I knew I had to do something because I knew I wasn't going in the right direction. So where was I going to be in 5 years from now? How about 2 years from now, a year from now? I didn't even want to think about next month because it's like every month I was gaining 1 or 2 pounds, and I was fighting to lose those 1 or 2 pounds. And here I was gaining. So it was very frustrating. So I really had to ask myself, what am I going to do? How important is this to me? I have to figure this out. So it was affecting my relationships. It was affecting my work and my career. And it was definitely affecting my happiness for sure. So I'd love for you to take a moment and just think to yourself where you're at today. Is this where you want to be? And looking at 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years from now, where you're at today, if you don't get it under control, how is it going to affect your relationships with your family and friends? How is this going to affect maybe your work or career? Maybe it's your happiness, and it's just all about you. And you have to ask yourself those questions. So I know, Maureen and I have talked a lot about this, and I know she has some thoughts also on really kind of visualizing this, because you have to know that if you aren't moving forward, you're definitely moving backwards. So life's always moving, everything's moving. So Maureen, I'll turn it over to you and you can go into the next part.
Well, I just wanted to say that I actually, once we reopened our business, I was so fatigued and I felt so sick to my stomach, and like I could barely get through a day. And I started thinking something was really serious, like seriously wrong with me. And then you kind of get in that, like, well, if I go to the doctor, they tell me I'm okay. Like, I don't know what else to do. I started looking throughout the country to find like a functional medicine, insulin resistance type of doctor, and decided to have consults with them online. And their programs were like $8,000 to $10,000. So I didn't know anything about them other than I just saw them online. So I'm like, I mean, Angie and I talked about it. She said, well, maybe, Fat Freeze could pay for it. And, you go through the program and we'll learn more and we can share it or something. And I mean, this is how desperate we were. I literally thought, do I drop that kind of cash when neither of us are working and I don't even know when we're going to reopen? It just, when I thought about where I was going to be in 5 years or 10 years, I was so scared that I wasn't even going to be here. And so that brings me to one of the tests that we actually do for people that start this program. And it's called a metabolic assessment. And it actually determines your metabolic age. And thank God we did this, because my metabolic age was 83. So worrying about where I was going to be in 5 years from now was a pretty honest worry. I was that sick. I was barely plugging through a day. And I was sleeping until 10 o'clock, trying to crawl out of bed. Well, what do 83-year-olds do? My parents are that age and they had more energy than I did. I used to go visit them and I'd be like, I don't even know what to do. My parents have more energy than me. So the metabolic age, it's kind of a biological, a sum of the way your body is biologically aged, and it has to do with a lot of factors that we deal with. So that's one of the things that is in this metabolic assessment. And another one is hydration, because your body, your cells need to be fully hydrated to function. And I had all these doctors telling me that my thyroid was right or whatever, but it wasn't getting into my cells. It was just floating around in my blood. And so they're thinking my thyroid's high and they're dropping it lower and lower and lower. And my hair was falling out again. It was just a nightmare. So that's two of them. And then Angie, you want to talk about the other two factors that we get from that test?
Yeah, so the next one's going to be your body fat percent, which nobody really wants to have, but this was huge for Maureen and I both. We're so glad we did do this test, because where we started and where we're at now, pretty significance in the difference. And
In a
this
short period of time.
very short period of time. And so this is just one way for us to see really how serious the inflammation is in your body. What a lot of people don't realize is fat is going to produce chemicals, and that they're going to stimulate inflammation. And honestly, if we don't address inflammation right away, there's really no point of going on. We have to address this, because and depending on the level of your inflammation, you're going to be coached a little different. Your program it's going to be tweaked a little bit differently than maybe somebody who doesn't have as much inflammation. So that's super important. Inflammation, as we know, is 98%. It's the cause of all disease. So we really need to reduce that body fat to help reduce inflammation. The fourth factor in here, it's one of the forms of testing, is going to be our phase angle. Now, most people have never heard of this, but it is important because this is the measurement of that electrical charge around your cell membrane. So think of it as the healthier that your cells are, they're going to be more permeable. That cell membrane is going to be able to bring nutrition in, but also get rid of the waste that's in the cell, the toxins and all the junk that is in our cells. It's going to be able to move out. But that movement creates an electrical gradient. And so the higher the charge, the healthier your cells are going to be. And ours were not very healthy, which, yes, Christmas, yes, the holidays. But that was a wake-up call, big time. And then I'm just going to address this now, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit towards the end here too. But the second form of testing that we're going to be doing is a full comprehensive blood workup. So we're going to test beyond what if you were to go to your doctor and say, I need some testing done, they're going to be like, well, what are your symptoms? And they're going to base your lab work off of your symptoms. And a lot of the more important labs that somebody like us would need, they're not going to test you, which is one reason why Maureen ended up having her thyroid removed, is because they didn't do the appropriate test. And had they done that, she'd still have her freaking thyroid right now and her parathyroids. So this is critical. And this is part of your program. So we're going to do a full test. We're going to do a full review. And these tests, the results are going to be put into a functional fundamental, which is really tight ranges. Because what most people don't realize is when you go to a lab and get your labs drawn, it's the bell curve of all of those people who have gone to that lab. So basically, your lab results are based off of a bunch of sick people. I'm not a sick person. I might have been overweight, but I definitely didn't need to be told that my inflammatory markers were good, because I'm in with a bunch of people who are really sick, and that put me out of the bell curve, or within the bell curve. So anyway, blood work, super important. So we're going to make sure in this program, you're also going to have a full blood panel. Maureen knows all about the blood panels and how inaccurate, not even how inaccurate they are, but what they failed to test for.
Well, they only, like Angie said, they only test for, like, let's say, my symptom is that I'm tired. So they test my TSH, which means nothing. It's not the thyroid that's active, that's working for me. So a lot of people get their thyroid tested and they always tell me, oh yeah, my thyroid's fine. Well, it's fine until it's not. And we catch it before it's not. So we're looking at functional labs, which is getting to the root of the problem. And it could be many other different problems. We actually had lab work for someone, and they would have never been tested for this because they didn't have symptoms yet, but their blood work was actually in the high risk category for stroke and heart attack. So that means it's time to do something about it, not once it gets into that bell curve that Angie was just talking about. And now you already have a serious heart problem and you're going to be put on heart meds. We caught this problem before it got to that level. So these labs are really important, and you wouldn't even be able to get all these labs because doctors their hands are tied. The insurance companies will not let them order all these labs because they don't think it's necessary. So you have to go to this doctor and that doctor and get shipped around a million times. And so that's one of the reasons we're not in that insurance system, because then you're at their mercy. So we can order whatever labs we want, and we spend a lot of time diving into them and, going over them with you. So there's some other things that we use, some other tools in this program that we've created. And the first tool that we use is just having a regimen, because I don't know how many times I've been on a diet or this diet or that diet. And I always say, if somebody would just tell me exactly what to do, I could do it, but I don't know exactly what to do. Like I had little bits and pieces of all these different diets that I was trying, but like I just needed a roadmap. So we provide a full step-by-step system, a full regimen, and anyone that follows it is going to have success. So the other thing that we provide is education. So we want you to be free from the medical system. We want you to be free from sickness and ultimately free from us, because this is going to be a very interactive, we're very much involved in your life through this whole process, but we then want you to have the education so that you know where to go when we're no longer there every day. So there's daily videos, online support, weekly, sometimes daily coaching that's going to be involved in this program. And we're there to guide you every step of the way until you're ready to go out on your own and maintain this. So I don't know how many diets I've done and then gained the weight back because I didn't know how to maintain it. So that's crucial as well. So there's actually like 5 pillars of health, and we take and apply the tools that I just shared with you to get to these 5 pillars. So Angie, you want to kind of go over those?
Yeah, so let's just start with the first pillar, and that's, as I addressed before, inflammation, the cause of 98% of all disease. So we have to start there. And honestly, I don't care if we're talking about cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, thyroid issues. I have been trained as a digestive health specialist, and I will tell you, if for nothing else, 80% of all the people that we do see, they've got an inflamed gut. And so if your stomach is sick, you're definitely not going to, for instance, convert your thyroid hormones. You're not going to break down the nutrients in the organic food that you're spending all that money on. You're just going to be sick. Your brain's going to be sick. You're going to age faster. You're not going to absorb the nutrients that your body's looking for. So really, regardless of those who, think, hey, I eat healthy, because honestly, even if you eat organic, which I did, I don't really eat processed foods ever. I still was having some issues, and they stemmed from inflammation. I was shocked when I got my labs because I've never had a lab panel ran like the one that we run. So really, we have to address that because it's going to affect the way that your organs, your glands, and your whole system functions as a whole. So if it's not addressed, you can have the best diet plan, the best coaches, and all of that you want. But if inflammation is there, it's just really going to be like a revolving door. You're going to constantly be spinning in circles. All right, Mo, if you want to talk about the next topic.
Well, another one of the pillars is hormones, and whether it's male or female, our hormones, estrogen, testosterone, thyroid, cortisol, insulin, all of those hormones. If your hormones are out of balance, I don't care how much you exercise or what kind of diet you follow. If you don't get your hormones straightened out first, it's just not going to happen. And I mean, I've done all these diets. I could not lose weight. And so I had to get my hormones straightened out, and medication wasn't doing it. So I've asked doctors repeatedly, is there a certain diet I can follow? Oh, no, that doesn't really affect your thyroid. And this isn't a doctor bashing. They know what they know. And, they know how to treat sick people with meds and surgeries. And that's what they did for me. And neither one worked. So I knew I needed better quality of life. So getting those hormones straightened out is a huge pillar. And then also the diet and nutrition. That's, there are a lot of good diets out there. There's good parts to a keto diet. There's bad parts. There's paleo diets. There's just a ton of good diets out there. But if you don't have your hormones straightened out, and you don't have the inflammation under control, your body's not going to part with the weight. And I was just stuck. So diet and nutrition are huge. There's macronutrients, micronutrients. There's so much to this puzzle. And so we focus obviously a lot on that. And we literally tell you exactly what to eat. So it's real food. but it's how and combinations and timing and all of that. So another one then, Angie, you want to talk about how
Yeah.
alignment matters?
Yeah. So alignment can be very important because this is about your muscles and your joints. And at some point, we're going to be putting you on an exercise plan. Um, Honestly, exercise is overrated, especially if your inflammation isn't down. Here in the United States, we have more workout facilities. We have more people working out, but we also have more people dropping dead of heart attacks. And so what a lot of these athletes who are, doing boot camps and this, long distance running and stuff like that, is they're not checking their inflammation markers. And it's really important that we not only have those labs for your inflammatory markers, but we also have some structural um, exams. So what we may recommend, to some degree, I'm trained that I can do some of it, but if we feel like there's a problem, we may have you go to your chiropractor to get a structural exam done. If we feel like that is necessary, because the last thing we want to do is get you where you want to be with your weight, and now all of a sudden you want to tone up and start developing more a shapely figure or build muscle, and you get injured, and then you're going to find yourself right back where you were because you're going to be depressed and upset. So that's definitely something that we do not want to happen. And then talking about exercise, it gets to a point that you're finally like, now you're itching to exercise. It's been a while. You might be walking, maybe doing yoga, some stretching. That's all fine during that program. But the last thing we want to do is create more stress for your body to deal with, because stress and inflammation, because you're injuring the muscles. So it does create inflammation. And if your body doesn't know how to handle that and work through it, again, we're going to be a revolving door. So we need to make sure we bring exercise in at the right time. And that's towards the end, because we want to make sure everything checks. But after that, though, it's really, your program is really kind of complete. And now it's about taking you into, like, what does the lifetime maintenance look like for you? So this would be really the next phase that we'll address in this program, which is, it's a 4-month program. But your end, going at the end of your plan, it is about creating now your lifestyle. And that is actually really fun because you're going to learn a lot on this journey for sure. Even an old timer like me, who I consider myself very educated in this area, there were a lot of things that I learned about me that I never took the time to learn about me. So, like my relationship with food. I know people talk about it, but it was a very enlightening um, exercise to go through. So, Mo, if you want, why don't you just kind of sum it up, and then we'll let everyone know kind of where we're going to go from here.
Okay, so basically, this program is all inclusive. It's literally start to finish, from labs to the metabolic testing that we talked about, which is actually, it's not like an assessment or anything. It's actually a test. We hook calipers up to you and we test to see all those things. We provide you with liver detox, gut repair, um, uh, protein that's a detox protein. It actually tastes really good, and I am the pickiest eater on the planet. So if I can do this program, anybody can. Well, no, my son's probably the pickiest, but I'm a close second. So if I can do this program, anybody can. I probably ate more vegetables in the last 6 months of my life than I have in my entire life. So that explains where I came from. You're going to get metabolic drops that you're going to take. You're going to get a food sensitivity assessment so that you can start bringing foods back in and finding out which ones are going to cause problems and which ones aren't. We literally give you the diet that's customized to each of you. So everybody's program is a little bit different. because we need to do all these tests on everyone to find out where you're at. And then, we create that program for you, as well as the best types of exercise for you down the road. For me, I thought running on the treadmill every night was it. And to find out that that was a waste of my time. We're going to give you a free app for your phone where you get daily videos. You can track your food. We can communicate on there. There's going to be a lot of mindset coaching, because for those of us that have had some eating disorder types of issues over the years, for me, I turn to food for comfort. Sometimes, people binge eat. Sometimes people don't eat. A lot of us have some mindset issues to work on. And so we don't ever have to do this again. And so it's the coaching, it's the full meal plans, it's recipes. You're going to get added to our private Facebook group so that we can communicate in there and encourage each other. And so it is truly a complete full program to get you from start to maintenance for the rest of your life. So we know this isn't going to be for everyone, because we need to know that you are going to make a strong commitment to this. If anybody is interested to go to the next step is going to be just one-on-one consults with us, so we can go through where you're coming from, what your goals are, and lay it all out, because we want you to succeed, and we want to start, creating a vision board for other people to look at and say, wow, look where they came from. We've seen people have lost over 100 pounds. They've gotten off of tons of medications. They've been given their lives back. So we have all the costs up front, so you don't have to come in every week and, now this week I got to pay $200 or whatever. It's not like that. This is the cost, and this will get you from start to finish. So from here, I guess we're just going to kind of wrap things up, unless you have something else you want to close with, Angie. And then if any of you want to think about this over the next day or two, and then decide if you want to schedule a one-on-one. So like Angie said, the program itself depends on how much weight you want to lose, if weight loss is your ultimate goal, but it is from wellness to weight loss. So we get you well. It's a 28-day detox that rolls into a metabolic reset. And then from there, I already got a I'm in, schedule my consult, please. From there, you were going to base that on how much weight you want to lose, but it's generally about a 4-month program. If you want to do another round of Met Reset, you can, but you'll have all the tools that you need to do that, other than you'd have to buy one more bottle of drops if you decided to do that. But everything else is included in that price.
Yeah. So I just want to restate too, I can't say it any better than Maureen did, but I would have paid double to have the results. I really, really struggled. And I know some of you have seen me and you knew where I was in December, and I'm a different person. My attitude's different, just my energy's different. And don't let money hold you back, but I've never seen anything like it. And I pay thousands of dollars a year to analyze and buy programs. And so does Maureen. And we put them together to see how we can help our clients. To us, it's continuing ed to see what's out there. We need to know that stuff. And we've tried everything. And if you're in a inflammation state or your gut, sometimes you can do a jumpstart program and just fine tune your diet, and you can get results. And that's great for some people, that works. But if it doesn't stick and we need to address more things, this program is where you want to go, because it's going to teach you a lot. But
and hopefully you'll never have to spend another dime on a diet again in your life, because I can't even tell you how much money I've spent.
Oh yeah, we
every diet in the world, and
was still less than we paid.
Oh yeah, much less.
So we've customized this program to really be affordable for what you get. Yeah, we paid a lot more. So,
and the only other thing that you're going to need is real food. And I'm probably saving that much money because we did plenty of drive-throughs, we did plenty of packaged and processed food. We, everything we did was different. And I save that probably that much money every month just because I go to the grocery store and I buy exactly what I need. And my family's catching on. My husband eats what I eat now, only higher quantities. And my picky son is all of a sudden very health conscious and, asking me lots of questions too. So my food pantry's bare. The only thing that has anything in it is the fridge.
Yeah, and I know a lot of you are probably going, well, what do you get to eat? I am telling you, so my husband, those of you who do know my husband, he eats more vegetables in one meal than he's eaten probably in a month's time frame. And he actually loves it. Tonight he actually said, yeah, I just want to have a salad too. Like he didn't need to have it. He had other vegetables, but he is loving it. His acid reflux is gone. So much is working better for him from eating
Oh,
vegetables.
sleep is like nothing I've ever experienced before.
So
Like I
well
can't even
movements.
tell you.
So the food is
Yeah.
really, it's whole food. It's what you might think it will be. And it's also what it is, what it shouldn't be, if you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
there's obvious foods that we need to clean out of the diet. Doesn't mean you can't ever have them again. We actually have a phase where we'll test that and see how you do. And that's a pretty important phase, especially if you're like, am I never going to be able to eat bread again? We'll address that on an individual level. So it's a really cool program, you guys. So I
So
think
I
from
think
here,
that's yep.
I was just gonna say from here now it's going to the Fat Freeze RX Gmail, and now it's in the subject line. I'd like to schedule my consult. And in the content of the email, make sure we have your name and your phone number so that we can reach out with you and set up that time to schedule. It'll be an online call at first. That's going to be our consult. We'll be coming in to do your assessment, your first assessment, and we'll get your blood work and all that going.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for spending all this time. We look forward to working with any of you that decide that this is the right program for you. And it has to be the right program for you. We get that,
and timing.
Yeah.
And timing.
Yeah. There's different periods of everybody's life, and it has to be something that you're really ready to do. And if you'd like to be ready to do, but you're struggling, we help you work on the mindset part too. So we look forward to it, and thank you all. And I think that's it.